So this video is going to be on the story of Trump stealing from cancer patients, which I'm sure if you're at least somewhat into politics that you've heard of this. Okay, so I'm going to click on the second link there, and as always, the links will be provided in the bio so that you guys are able to actually do this research yourself so that you can see that I'm not making stuff up and that I'm not lying. Okay, so factcheck.org, I am screen recording this from my phone, debunking false stories, social posts distort facts on Trump charities. Quick take, post on social media falsely claim that the Trump family is disallowed from operating any charity in New York because they stole from a kids' cancer charity. That inaccurately describes the outcome of a court case involving the Donald J. Trump Foundation and confirms it with allegation about the Eric Trump Foundation. Full story, President Donald Trump's namesake charitable foundation agreed to cease operations in late 2018 as part of an agreement with New York attorneys general who alleged that the nonprofit organization was improperly leveraged to further Trump's business and political interests. A November court order resolved the lawsuit, and Trump ultimately paid a total of $2 million in damages to 8 charities, which also received equal portions of the foundation's remaining $1.8 million. And then the bottom part just says that it's not true that they're disallowed from operating any charity. And this fact-checking site just says that that distorts the facts. First of all, it's wrong to say the family was disallowed from operating a charity in the state. There was no such stipulation in the settlement with the Attorney General. The Attorney General's lawsuit initially asked the court to bar Trump and his grown children who sat on the foundation board from serving as any charity officer, director, trustee, or equivalent position for a period of time. The settlement reached did not do that. Instead, the agreement imposes a number of requirements that the president must meet if he decides to serve as an officer or director of a pre-existing charitable organization or form a new charitable organization and serve as an officer or director thereof in New York. For example, if Trump were to start a new organization, he would need to provide annual reports to the Attorney General for 5 years. It also required Trump's children to participate in mandatory training relating to charitable organizations, which the 3 have already undergone. So this is saying that this basically did happen. So far, that's what I'm getting at. It's what it seems like, but we'll continue reading. There was also no part of the state's lawsuit that dealt with allegations that the Trump Foundation stole from a kids' cancer charity, as the Post claims. That detail appears to stem from a 2017 Forbes story, which we will get into later, that alleged Eric Trump's separate nonprofit organization, the Eric Trump Foundation, engaged in self-dealing. And the magazine wrote that the foundation publicly proclaimed that all proceeds from its annual golf tournament at a Trump golf club would go to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. However, while the foundation did donate millions to the organization, it also made large payments to the Trump organization to host the event, and some funds were directed to different charities, Forbes found. So that's basically just saying that they lied about where the money was actually going to, and that instead of paying for it all themselves, they took money out of the donations to pay for it. Eric Trump has since resigned from his foundation, which has rebranded as Curativity. This link will be provided below, and then you can see their sources for this too. So here's the Forbes link, how Donald Trump shifted kids' cancer charity money into his business. This story appears in the June 29th, 2017 issue. This is something that's been prevalent for the past 3 years. People know about it. It did occur. I'm not going to read through all of this. I will just show you some key points, and I will talk about the key points that I want to. The link will be provided below, so you guys can look at it yourself, read the entire story. So he's hosted this event for 10 years on behalf of the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis. He's done a ton of good to date. He's directed more than $11 million there, the vast majority of it being this annual golf event. He has also helped raise another $5 million through events with other organizations. The best part about all of this, according to Eric Trump, is the charity's efficiency because he can get his family's golf course for free and have most of the other costs donated. Virtually all the money contributed will go toward helping kids with cancer. We get to use our assets 100% free of charge, Trump tells Forbes. But after review, that is not the case. In reviewing filing from the Eric Trump Foundation and other charities, it's clear that the course was not free. The Trump organization received payments for its use, part of more than $1.2 million that has no documented recipients past the Trump organization. Golf charity experts say that the listed expenses defy any reasonable cost justification for a one-day golf tournament. $1.2 million. Additionally, the Donald J. Trump Foundation, which has come under previous scrutiny for self-dealing and advancing the interests of its namesake rather than those of charity, apparently used the Eric Trump Foundation to funnel $100,000 in donations into revenue for the Trump organization. that is not for the kids. And while donors to the Eric Trump Foundation were told their money was going to help sick kids, more than $500,000 was redonated to other charities, many of which were connected to Trump family members or interests, including at least 4 that subsequently paid to hold golf tournaments at Trump courses. So basically, to simplify this, whenever I first read it, I assumed that meant he was just paying to other hospitals, other children research facilities possibly, but instead it just means at least 4 other groups that subsequently paid to hold golf tournaments at Trump courses. That's not helping the children. All of this seems to defy federal tax rules and state laws that ban self-dealing and misleading donors, especially since the person who specifically commanded that the for-profit Trump organization start billing hundreds of thousands of dollars to the nonprofit Eric Trump Foundation, according to 2 people directly involved, was none other than the current president of the United States, Donald Trump. The president was never known for giving his foundation much money, and from 2019 to 2014, he didn't give it anything at all. Outsiders still donated, though, allowing Trump to dole out their money to a smattering of more than 200 charities as if it were his own. So I'm actually going to do another video because tons of people talk about all the good things Trump does and how much he donates, but this right here is saying that he hasn't donated his own money, at least from 2019 to 2014. And it goes on to say that Eric Trump set out to do things differently. Eric Trump set up his foundation as a public charity, a classification that allows it to raise most of its money from outside donors. In 2007, when he was 23, the first Eric Trump golf tournament took place, raising $220,000. A compelling sales pitch evolved. The free golf course and the donated goods and services assured donors that every penny possible went to charity. The Eric Trump Foundation employed no staff until 2015, and its annual expense ratio averaged 13%, about half of what most charities pay in overhead. His original 7-person board was made up of personal friends who helped sell tournament tickets, which last year ranged from $3,000 for a single all-day ticket to $100,000 for a pair of VIP foursomes. For the first 4 years of the golf tournament, from 2007 to 2010, the total expenses averaged about $50,000. According to the tax filings, not quite the zero-cost advantage that a donor might expect given who owned the club, but at least in line with what other charities pay to host outings at Trump courses. So basically, what he told his people, the donors, was not true. But in 2011, things took a turn. Costs for Eric Trump's tournament jumped from $46,000 to $142,000, according to the foundation's IRS filings. So these are based on the actual numbers that they gave IRS. It's not made up. Why would the price of the tournament suddenly triple in 1 year? Katrina Kupp, who served on the board of directors of the Eric Trump Foundation in 2010 and 2011, also remembers Donald Trump insisting the charity start paying its own way, despite Eric's public claims to the contrary. We did have to cover the expenses, she says. The charity had grown so much that the Trump organization couldn't absorb all of those costs anymore. The Trump organization declined to answer detailed questions about the payments, but assumed that for the future president, who Forbes estimates is worth $3.45 billion, a freebie to help his son directly fight kids cancer took a backseat to revenue. I saw that Eric was getting billed. I would always say I can't believe that his dad is billing him for a charitable outing, but that's what they wanted. It's also very consistent. The Donald J. Trump organization famously acted like an arm of the overall business, using the charity's money to settle a Trump business lawsuit, making a political donation, and even purchase expensive portraits of its namesake. Meanwhile, Trump businesses billed the Trump campaign, fueled by small outside donors, more than $11 million to use his properties, chefs, and private aircraft. At first, the extra bills did not cost the Eric Trump Foundation anything. Shortly before the spike in cost, the Donald J. Trump Foundation donated $100,000 to the Eric Trump Foundation, a gift explicitly made, according to Galul, to offset the increased budget. Thus, the Eric Trump donors were still seeing their money go to work for kids along the same lines as previous years. The Eric Trump Foundation declined to comment on that donation. In effect, this maneuver would appear to have more in common with a drug cartel's money laundering operation than a charity's best practices textbook. The $100,000 is outside donations to the Donald J. Trump Foundation. Remember, he did not give his own money to his own foundation at this time. The cost for Eric's golf tournament quickly escalated after returning in 2012 to a more modest $59,000, while the event brought in a record $2 million. The listed cost exploded to $230,000 in 2013. 142,214, and finally 322,215. The most recent on record held just as Trump was ratcheting up his presidential campaign, according to IRS filings. It's hard to find an explanation for this cost spike. Remember, all those base costs were supposedly free, according to Eric Trump. The golf course always comped, he says. The merchandise for golfers, the vast majority of it, we got comped. Drinks, things like wine, we were normally able to get donated. They did it for free with the performers. So many sponsors donated, in fact, that the event invitation has carried enough logos to make a NASCAR team proud. Eric Trump, in speaking with Forbes, maintains that our expenses on a tournament that made us somewhere in the $2 million range every year was somewhere around $1,000, even though his foundation's tax records show costs soaring to $322,000. Keep in mind, these are actual tax records that they gave to the IRS, and he declined to give an itemized list of expenses. Thus, it's hard to figure out what happened to the money. All the listed costs are direct expenses. Items like overhead and salaries appear elsewhere in the IRS filings, even if the Eric Trump Foundation had to pay the full rate for literally everything. Forbes couldn't come up with a plausible path to $322,000, given the parameters of the annual event, a golf outing for about $200 and dinner for perhaps $400 more. Accounting doesn't help, as the Eric Trump Foundation began hosting a few other golf events and fundraisers. Former board member Kopp says some were lumped into the cost figures of the Westchester event on the IRS filings. Hundreds of thousands of dollars over the time went directly to the Trump organization, including one payment of $87,000 to Trump's golf course in Washington. Another link was Snopes. The Donald Trump family members steal from a children's cancer charity. The allegations involving members of the Trump family and a children's cancer charity are separate from the New York lawsuit against the Trump Foundation that sought to bar some of the family from running charities at that state. Amato's viral tweet inappropriately conflated the two sets of allegations by claiming that the charity ban, which was requested by the New York Attorney General but not granted by the court, was the result of Trump family members stealing from a children's charity. Investigations by both the Associated Press in 2016 and Forbes in 2017 found that the Eric Trump Foundation had misled donors in mismanaged funds, funneling money into Trump-owned businesses or other charities linked to the Trump empire. Okay, so this is a good link. A charity operated by one of Donald Trump's sons flaunts philanthropic standards by financially benefiting charities connected to the Trump family and members of the charity's board. The AP found that Eric Trump has exaggerated the size of his foundation and the donations it receives. At the same time, the charity's payments for services or donations to other groups repeatedly went to one of Donald Trump's private golf clubs and charities linked to the Trumps by corporate, family, or philanthropic relationships. The Eric Trump Foundation failed to report multiple conflicts of interest by supposedly independent board members who work for the Trump Organization or Eric Trump's winery, as required by the IRS. Based on its revenue and giving, the Eric Trump Foundation is a small to medium-sized charity. Eric Trump has repeatedly overstated its size. In 2015, for example, he said his group was one of the largest foundations anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. Told of the claim, Associate Dean Patrick Roney at Indiana University Center in Philanthropy said that's just silly. Though public charity boards are supposed to represent the public, Eric Trump has loaded his board with friends, relatives, and Trump employees. They include 2 Trump company executives who served as senior presidential campaign aides, former Westchester Golf Club manager Dan Scavino, and special Trump counsel Michael D. Cohen. The charity's executive director, Paige Scardigli, was a close college friend of Eric Trump's at Georgetown University. In 2014, at least 12 of 16 board members had personal or financial ties to the Trumps outside of the charity, records show. The foundation's board has also included Lawrence Glick, executive vice president of strategic development for the Trump organizations. In an extraordinary provision, the foundation's bylaws make Eric Trump chairman as long as he remains on the board or reserves board seats for any children he might eventually have. Eric Trump has falsely claimed his charity raises more money because its golf fundraisers don't have to pay for the use of the family golf courses. In a 2013 promotional video, he said that we were able to come up with this concept of raising a lot of money with really no expense by using Trump golf clubs. Eric Trump had previously said in an AP interview that his charity has reimbursed costs of fundraisers at Trump National Golf Club, Westchester. IRS documents show $181,829, paid from 2007 to 2014. That's more than a lot of us can even imagine making, especially with the minimum wages so low and everything happening with the economy right now. That is a ridiculous amount of money that was paid to Trump instead of to the children who had cancer and the cancer research. The foundation failed to report to the IRS as required that it paid $100,000 to a Trump golf club in 2013 at potential conflict of interest. When asked by AP, Scardigali called the omission an oversight. The golf club transaction violated a pledge made when Eric Trump sought tax-free status from the IRS. The charity said it wouldn't do business with the company if any of its corporate officers also were on the charity's board. Eric Trump, executive vice president of the Trump Organization, which operates and controls the collection of Trump golf courses. Eric Trump oversees the Trump Organization's golf operations worldwide. So I'm just going to end on NBC News, just the article title. It's going to be linked below, though, if you want to read it. Judge orders Trump to pay $2 million for misusing his foundation, which he did have to pay. So I just want to end the video by saying that this is all stuff that happened. You can find more information on it. They did end up getting in trouble for it, for misusing the money, for lying to their donors. Again, another lie he was caught in, another lie the organization foundation was caught in. Trump and his family. I just want to say that I do know a lot of people that actually have cancer or have died from cancer, and just the thought of so many millions of dollars not going towards research whenever it should have been disgusts me, and it should disgust any humane person. Comment your thoughts, comments if you think I'm lying or whatever, so I can point out how I'm telling the truth. This is all based on links. Of course, there's tons of other articles, sources I could have used. I just tried to use what everybody will have access to, because I do know that some of the more scientific ones, not everybody can have access to all the time. But I just want to point out that the judge ordered them to pay the money for misusing his foundation. So you can take all this information as you want to, but they did misuse his foundation. They did misuse the money. They did not give it to children who should have had the money. This did happen. Take it as you want. I'm going to take it in the most humane way possible, that children could have been saved with all of that ridiculous amount of money that did not go where it was supposed to.